It's only in, relatively recently that we've had I think a real scientific study of these experiences that we all have that are part of our everyday life. And so often we think of these experiences as sort of maybe nuisances to get rid of, like maybe I wish I wasn't so angry, or gosh, I wish I could get over this person. Sometimes emotions are thought of as antithetical to logic and reason. But another way to think about it is that emotions are there to help us. They're there for a reason. They're serving a function and a purpose, and they're worthy of serious scientific study. So from that perspective, why do we have emotions? What are they there for?
Well, I think one of the most interesting angles on this is the evolutionary perspective. And the evolutionary perspective essentially says that our emotions are there to help us to do more of the things that are good for us and fewer of the things that are bad for us. And of course, by good for us and bad for us, I mean with respect to passing on genes, with respect to staying alive and passing on our genes to the next generation. And I think, one of the great examples of this is like take an emotion like disgust. That's a very good example for this. So what does disgust do? Disgust is there, essentially, the function is to stop us ingesting things that are bad for us. What do we do? Well, we have a feeling, right? There's something that's disgusting in our vicinity or something about to eat. We have this subjective feeling, which is a horrible feeling, and then we will have a disgust expression, a face where we will close our eyes and wrinkle our nose. The classic disgust ratio is like that, kind of, yeah. Like that. So what you're doing is you're closing your eyes so the fumes can't come into your eyes, and you're scrunching your nose, the fumes can't come into your nose, and your tongue is going out. You're actually kind of ejecting something that's in your mouth. So there, it's very clear how something like that might be essentially stopping us do something that is bad for us. But then we might also emotions might be useful for encouraging us to do things that are good for us. So think of an emotion like love, right? If you have an infant, right, there needs to be some actual mechanism to make you want to stay there, not think, oh, well, this is boring, and wander off and leave it forever, right? There has to be something that, and the way our experience of love is essentially the reflection of evolution's mechanism for making us want to stay with the infant, look after the infant, and the infant will love us and want to stay with us, and there will be a bond that will promote protecting one another, and in the course of doing so, passing on genes to the next generation.
But we can also think about the ways that our emotions motivate adaptive behavior in the longer term, because we're motivated to avoid negative feelings and we're motivated to pursue positive feelings. So if you think about, how would it feel to tell my parents that I failed Psych 301? Or how would it feel if my boyfriend broke up with me? You can envision how those would feel bad, and trying to avoid those bad feelings is part of why you put in effort towards maintaining relationships or towards working towards your academic goals. There's a lot of things that we do right now that don't feel great, but we do them to avoid feeling worse later on in life. So these emotions are playing this important motivational role for behavior all the time. If we think about them in this way, that they're adaptive, but they're adaptive in part because of the pressures of evolution, that can also help us solve some of the kind of puzzles or maybe riddles around emotion.